we'll start doing what I'm going to call micro podcasts, and it's 8 to 12 minutes of us talking about something, and that's it.
You're listening to the Bent Motorsports Podcast with the owner of Bent Motorsports, David Beckett, and his crew, Jacob Hunsinger, James Hernandez, and Jake Russo. Listen in as the guys discuss all things motorsports, including tech tips and current shop projects.
It's hard to explain. I took a video of the process after James kind of bombarded me to do so. I'm not against the idea of taking video while I'm working, but it really, really, really prolongs the process.
As your employer, I'm okay with you videoing your process as long as I gain.
Wow, this is turning very provocative. So
James over here just giving it away for free.
And we are proud of you for doing that. Don't you worry.
You're so good at it, too.
So what I did, I took my struts apart. They're strut inserts. I bought some
What's a
Kony sturt inserts. It's a
Sturt
shock
insert?
that goes inside of
Sturt
a
insert.
housing that gets screwed into it and like really clamps it down in
There's
there.
a company making those now.
Sturts.
Who's that?
I
Sturt
don't know.
extensions, I think.
Anyways, I'll remember.
I put the Kony in there. It needed to be spaced at the bottom, so I got a little Delrin and put it down in the bottom, but it had lateral movement, I guess, because it wasn't captured fully in there.
Oh, right.
So I ordered Delrin. I put it on the lathe and basically machined it, so that's like a perfect snug fit. You even had to like hammer it down in there because it was so tight. So I got the top all dialed in too, so like top and bottom is just super stout now. So I'm pretty stoked. It's definitely a new ride as far as the front, which the front is super stiff, and I changed the spring rates too, so the spring rate's even a little bit more stiff, and the rear just feels horrible now because the front's like nice and like the jounce is good, you know, like it's got good
Jounce.
it's got some good feeling up front, and then the back is just like an old Lincoln Town car, you know.
Just rolling on through.
Yeah.
So you still got to do the rear.
So me and Jake talked about, he put the Fox 2.0s.
Mhm.
They're 6.5-inch travel, which is about the same overall length that I would need. I need to make a 2-inch spacer for the top of it to mount, which I would have to make a mounting plate anyway. So I think I'm going to go with that because those are revalvable and they're already a coilover sleeve, so they're all threaded for the collar and everything. So I think I'm going to go with that, and they're actually cheaper than buying the BMW ones, which are Konys as well.
Right.
So I'm saving a little bit of money, but all in all, I'm probably going to have to get stuff water jet out and stuff like that. So it's kind of a wash, but you get the benefit of revalving. You get, what else do those have? You could adjust the pressure. I can mount reservoirs onto them. So I think it's going to be a pretty sweet little setup once it's all done.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So I found a company that makes sway bars too. So maybe that's not in the super distant future.
You just
but
hammer the ends of a big piece of EMT, and then
Uh-huh.
you just bend it up. You were doing that, right?
Yeah, dude, I used to make my own sway bars, man. What are you doing? Just make a sway bar. What do you need? We don't do any math. We just make it, put it on, go drive it, and go, that sucked.
make a new one.
Make a different one.
So how do you do that?
Well, we would just pick a wall thickness we wanted to mess with, and usually we do like a 1-inch bar, and we would use like 1/4-inch wall, right? And then we would bend it in the right shape that we needed, and then we would just hammer the shit out of the ends so they were dead flat, and then
Drill some holes in
drill
it.
some holes in it and put it in the car and go for it. And if it worked, great.
So did it have to be spring steel because it needed to bounce back, or like if you hit a corner hard enough, would it stay like bent like that, you know?
Yeah, so I can't remember. I have to look up and see what we used to use. I don't think that we were moving the sway bar a lot. I mean, I think at the time our car had like 3/4 of an inch of travel, so
Yeah,
We
that's
were-
not
we-
much.
it wasn't much. So it was, it just depends. And back then too, we didn't have a bender or anything, so
It was
we would
just
pack-
butane torching it and
we
throwing
would
it in
pack
vise.
the bar with sand, and sand and water, right? You packing sand and
Yeah.
water in it until it was done, and then we'd weld the end shut, and then we would force it with a little bit of heat around like anything that was round that would give us the shape. I think we were using like weights from like dumbbells and shit,
Yeah.
and we'd bolt them to the workbench, and we would just bend them around a dumbbell, and then and then when you're done, you cut it open, dump all the sand out.
That's like total parking lot racer status.
Yeah, dude, we were full on
Make it till you break
fucking
it.
total parking lot racers. Like it didn't matter. It didn't have to look good. It didn't have to be mathematically correct. It was just, did that feel better? Yeah, it felt better. Okay, cool. It's probably a placebo. It's probably way worse, but in our brains it was like, yeah, that was better. We should do that.
Did you have a balance between, I guess, like having the rear end kind of droop out a little bit so it kind of keeps the tires on the ground, or was it just full blown like this thing does not move whatsoever? I guess you could use the word articulate for it, right?
Yeah, so there's early on we had the car way too stiff when we were first starting to parking lot race, and we would take pictures or get photographs from other people of our car going around the track, and we started realizing that we were lifting wheels off the ground in corners, and everybody knows if you're taking a wheel off the ground, then you're not winning unless you're a front wheel drive, then that doesn't
Then
matter.
it's
But
okay.
but a rear wheel drive car, you're losing. If we're losing contact patch with the road, then we're not.
Less grip.
Yeah, so we need to do some suspension tuning to keep all four wheels on the ground. So eventually we got good enough where we could figure out how to keep all four wheels on the ground and still go faster. And that was when we started,
Really cooking.
yeah, and that was obviously at softer springs and, better valving, but mainly softer springs and a little less sway bar, let it move a little, let the suspension move a bit and really work. So it was a learning curve, and every car is different, and we were driving a Triumph Spitfire. The only ones out there were the Triumph Spitfire, so it's not like we could go over to the other guy who has a Miata and say, hey, what did you do to go so fast? There's fucking 40 Miatas out there. They can all swap stories and,
Yeah, right.
work together. But my dad and I was just, I don't know, man, we got to do something because this ain't working.
We should graft Miata suspension to the Spitfire.
Yeah, right. But it was fun that way, right? It was fun because we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think I learned more doing that than I would have just asking some other guy what he figured out.
Yeah,
I think
right.
you guys definitely picked a cool car, as
Absolutely.
to be your, platform. The Spitfire is sick. After I just saw it, I was like, wow. This thing is like a little roadster, like, it's like that one of those little Hot Wheels cars. It's
Yeah.
like, but not, not like some of the other ones that are like that just don't really fit the bill.
I was watching some old James Bond movies, getting really into British roadsters, and then shortly thereafter, I saw Dave's for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, it's true. These are dope.
Mm-hmm.
Low key dope. You don't really, they're not like all big on the internet and stuff, but
Yeah.
also we're trying to convince David to get it in here and get the high compression heads on, get a new transmission for it, or rebuild the old one because we're all doing stuff. We all got our own personal projects that we're cranking on, but David
Doing nothing.
just goes home to his family.
What a dick.
What kind of life is that?
Yeah,
Nobody
which is
wants
so dumb.
So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll just help this process go that much faster. Like we want to get David at the shop more so that he doesn't have to see his kids.
Well, they want to help build the Spitfire. They're all kind of down. They've already started tearing it apart, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I saw
Micah
it
and
last
Cole took all the transmission tunnel out, took the shifter off, started taking the ignition switch wiring out so that, because we need to rewire the whole car because it caught on fire under the dash.
Super cool.
Sorry, what? When?
Yeah, last time I drove it, when the transmission lost third gear, I was 2 corners away from being home. Cole was with me. I think it was Cole. And I turned on my left turn signal, and the steering column lit on fire. I went, well, no third gear, steering column's on fire. We should make it home. Relax. Zipped home real quick, put the fire out. It was electrical, so it just killed the battery. It kind of went out.
There was
own
some
a British
residual
car,
flames.
if you own a British car,
That's a part of your
it's
daily
very
life,
part of your
you know?
daily life. So we decided finally, okay, all the Lucas shit's got to come out. We're gonna gut the entire wiring of the whole car, rewire the entire car.
Oh, with all Deutsches. Ugh.
Yeah, put in
Oh.
rebuild the transmission while it's out, and then We can throw the high compression head on.
Heck yeah.
Because when the high compression head is on that car and I have to run race fuel, that
It
car
rips.
sounds rad. Like it's still as fast as it is. It gets a little more power, right? I mean, it gets more power. It for sure gets
Yeah.
more power than what you guys have seen.
70 to 90.
And then maybe we'll put the slicks back on it so that we get the full traction we want.
Yeah.
It's just such a, I don't know, to drive that, it's quite the experience because it's just so agile and small. And even though it has that shitty ballerina suspension, like, it's just badass.
What do you mean?
That
That-
transverse leaf rear spring.
Yeah.
Whatever. That thing is raw. The whole car is raw.
That's
Like
true.
it is, and plus the craziest part about it is if you reach your arm over the door, you can touch the ground.
Yeah.
So you're like, you are on the ground. The whole car is operated by you. It's wild.
It's like driving a shifter cart.
I couldn't imagine a car that it totally is. I can't imagine a car you can buy today that would give you the same experience because they're all just so neutered.
Yeah, that car, that's one cool thing about that car is when I did do parking lot racing and we retired the Spitfire and then I started racing with my buddy Bill and we jumped into his Miata and the NB or C, what is that one? The NC? What's his? Oh,
He's-
5
Oh,
or
it's
6?
an NC.
Yeah. So we got into that one. Totally different experience racing, right? Totally different. I mean, the seat was comfortable. The pedals were all in the right spot. Like the shifter was right there. The steering wheel had like a decent size to it. It was very, very comfortable race car in all reality, right? Had all the modern Man, the Spitfire, after a day of racing the Spitfire, I went home and Shelly would be like, right to the shower, dude. You smell like trick fuel and old gear oil.
Yeah.
Like you're getting that car is
You're
like
going to the
spitting on
GCN
you the whole time. It's pissed. The gas tank is right in the back. So it's the gas tank is between the back of your seat and the trunk, right? And right in the center of the back is this like flip open cap, like all cool style British flip open cap to fill it. Well, they don't seal for shit, right? There's no baffles in that tank. So trick fuel's just hitting it in the corners and splashing on the back of your neck and just fucking crazy.
Is that up to spec standards at all, or?
Fuck yeah, dude. A great race car. Thing was rad.
That's awesome.
I'm really upset because I haven't even been in that car yet.
I'm upset that you don't have
We broke it.
baffles in your freaking gas
David
tank.
let me
David broke it.
drive it like an idiot.
He
Yeah.
let all of us
How
drive
fun
it.
was
What a
that?
dummy.
Oh my gosh. I'm
So
pretty
cool.
sure I've told this story before, but I was at the shop. I was working, doing something. David brings in Spitfire. He leaves. He goes, hey, if you can figure out how to start it, you can drive it. So I stopped working and tried to figure out how to start it.
Because why
for-
would you keep working? At that
I
point?
mean, I can drive a race. Okay, you can work, or you can drive a race car right now. I don't know.
yeah.
God,
Easy answer.
idiots.
Idiots.
So yeah, I tried to figure it out. But he's very sneaky. So he showed me the sneaky way to start it, and then he took me out, ripped it to death, or like the cops should have gotten called. And then once he ripped it up, he's like, "Okay, you can go now." And I was like, "Wait, what?" First, I was saying that I was surprised that he was gonna let me drive it. Secondly, I was like, "But the cops are gonna come soon. Like, you just caused such a ruckus." And he goes, "If anybody calls the cops on that hot dog shit, they're gonna think it was you. So have fun."
Yeah.
He's like, "Don't lift,
I
in the,
remember that.
don't lift in the corners; it'll step out." And he goes, "Oh yeah, remember you said something about first gear and reverse being
Oh, right next to each other. So
Yeah,
don't,
you're like-
don't miss that.
so don't do that." And I was just like, "Okay," and I did. I drove it pretty good.
That's definitely that car is for sure throttle off oversteer. Like
when
when you're in it,
I did it.
when you're in it, stay in it.
I'm pretty good with the little quick catch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did it coming around the corner up around the street, and it gave me a little step out. And I
Yeah,
was
but
like,
how nice was it? You can reel it in, right?
it was really cool. I mean, I honestly was I wasn't coming into the corner too fast. It felt my brain told me I was
Yeah.
because it was like, no, this thing's like rickety. But the car is
Let's be honest.
the car it somehow, that's why I try to say when it's raw, it's like it feels rickety, but it's not. It's like you can't drive the car to the limit. I can't drive the car to the limit. At
so we
least
need-
in
so-
the 10 minutes that I was in it.
So we retired it because of some issues with the rear suspension that was going to cost several $1,000s to upgrade. So if we bring it in and freshen up the engine and put the high compression head on it and everything, I'm willing to look into the rear suspension so that we can get that thing back out at SCCA events.
I don't
Absolutely.
understand what would cost several $1,000
What's the part? Yeah.
for us to do.
The rear axles are were custom. We had custom rear axles made for it that were
And they're no good now?
we broke one. So I believe what's in there now is stock axles.
Mm.
So stock axles, as soon as I put slicks on that car, those stock axles are gonna twist and
Snap.
fucking snap.
Ooh.
So I
Well, there's your problem.
Oh
That's rough.
no.
We can't. There's no way we can re-engineer it to take some sort of 930 out of something and make it work.
well, we could if we wanted to run no class. But if I race that car
'cause
again,
then it's illegal.
yeah, if I run that car
No,
again,
okay. This is the whole thing that really gets me sideways about race stuff, is because the rules are there to make it fair, right? Except for that, lots of them are dumb in a way where it's like, no, that doesn't matter. Like,
well, there we did get past a lot of rules over the years by petitioning safety. So we rolled our car once at an event because the axle broke. So then we were allowed to upgrade the axles, right, to something that won't break. So there's some petitioning you can do just for safety. You go, hey man, I know we're all here to have fun, but I'm racing a car that's like,
Dinosaur.
that's a dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
You got to let me do something with it. You've got to let me make it safe. Putting an axle in that's heavier is not going to make me faster. It's probably going to slow me down if I'm increasing my rotating weight somewhere. So it's definitely not a benefit. Other than that, the wheel doesn't fly off and hit a spectator. That's the benefit,
yeah.
right?
Well, I just don't understand why so many classes are like based on they're based on displacement, or they're based on like you have to have the same motor that was in the car in the first place, or
Right.
blah blah blah. I don't understand why they're not just like, okay, all cars that have a power to weight ratio of this get to race in the same class.
Okay, so
Well, I think it's available. Like, think about it. That's a rule that would keep you from racing because you break your shit. I don't think any of those rules should influence your ability to race. I think they should all influence like the vehicle, and what class it's at, like you're saying, But if you're just gonna hop in there and be like, well, this rule eliminates you from even being on the course, like then that's kind of a shitty rule.
That's what I'm
yeah, so to be devil's advocate, to be on the side
Yeah,
of
hit
the
me.
SCCA right now, just to try to
be my SCCA dude.
So
He's that
normally,
guy.
right? Say you have a racing class, in a professional series, right? It's a very specific type of race car that you're building, right? Versus the SCCA, which is, hey, let's take any fucking car you can buy in the world and go meet in a parking lot somewhere and race.
Yeah.
How do we make this fair? How do we classify? Because everybody that shows up, well, other than lately when it's all Miatas that show up now, it used to be like you'd literally have 50 or 70 different cars show up. So it's like, well, who's going to race against who? Do we do it based on engine size? Do we do it based on if it's front wheel drive or rear wheel drive versus what size engine they have? So they've got this huge amount of variables that they've got to squeeze down into a class.
Yeah.
And say, okay, you've got to run this class, right? So that's what they've done. You start with stock, right? So you've got A stock, B stock, C stock, D stock, and so on, right? And then you go to the next class, which is going to be, I forget what it is. It's been so
Street
long.
prepared
Yeah. So it's you got A street prepared, and then B street prepared, and C street prepared, and that's so stock is stock, right? So you can still change things in stock.
Tires.
You can change like shocks, right? So your shocks, but they have to mount in the exact location that they used to mount, stuff like that. But then you go into the street prepared class. Well, now you can do a little more. You can run a non-DOT tire. Or no, I think street prepared, you still got to run a DOT
Still
tire.
DOT.
But you can change a few other things, right? You can do some things a little better. And then you go into, now it's A prepared, B prepared, C prepared, right? So it's the same car, but as I modify my car over the years, I just get bumped into the next class, right? So now if I want to remove my windshield and stuff, okay, well now I'm in A mod, or whatever. Say I was running in B stock, now I'm in B mod or whatever. That was the whole idea of it, right? Was that as your car went from stock throughout the years, as you progressed your car, you moved up into the subcategories until you were into like full modified class
Yeah.
or whatever.
But since it was a Spitfire, it was kind of, it's not exactly the fastest car on the road. So if you were to move into that next bracket, you got to go all the way, right? Like you can't just go into the next bracket and be like, oh, I changed the axle, so I should be good. Like you're legit.
I see it as
Yeah,
this.
oh, yeah.
Here's how
You're
like
prestiged.
we're talking.
Gotta
these,
get it now.
these are all weight classes, like middleweight, featherweight, like bantam,
Sure.
heavyweight, whatever. That's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Okay, we're trying to make sure that people are pound for pound sized up to the people that they are going up against.
Right.
And so when you whittle it all the way down to like, oh, and there's lots of rules like this. Oh, you can't have performance axles. And it's
Yeah,
like,
because they're like,
well,
well, because you're in a stock class. If you want to run in street prepared, you can change this, but until you get all the way to prepared, in prepared you can change your axles. So you change your axles now, you're in prepared, bro. Sorry, because that's the rule we wrote in prepared.
Fair
but if you
enough.
haven't done all the other bullshit that everybody does to get into prepared, well, now you're racing a car that is only capable to win in stock class.
I
but
guess
it's in
it works.
categories
I
as a
guess it
mod
works
class.
out better for them. I'm actually specifically more talking about off-road racing, and then the even more niche, the California Rally Series. I actually haven't looked at the what is now the American Rally, the ARA or something.
Mhm.
Because of course I really want to race rally. The California Rally Series basically has CRS1, CRS2, and then like an open class. Of course, everybody has an open class for what is it? Parking lot is X mod.
Yeah, it's just X class.
X class is like do whatever you want.
Yeah, fully
Well, so
built
now,
formula.
so here's the other thing too, right? So there were so many people showing up, more of the younger generation showing up to these SCCA events with cars that had been modded, right? Maybe they put on a different intake or a different exhaust or something, and that immediately bumped into mod class. And they're like, well, we want to come out here and race and have fun and actually do it to compete, but you're classing me in a class where I'm going to get a mud hole stomped on my ass. Like, there's no way I'm going to
That's
win.
what I'm saying is like basically you get if you do certain things to make your car a race car, it brings it into the realm of being powerful enough to drive. Is now you're also racing with somebody who has $100,000 or
Right.
something crazy.
Well, let's
and
be
you're just
honest.
like,
So
whoa, that's not the same.
Yeah. So what San Diego SCCA did when I was racing was they recognized that need to classify these kids' cars into and they made their own class for them. They said, okay, you guys come run. This is your class. You guys all get to
Grom
compete
class.
against each other.
Yeah.
Right? And they did the same thing with the muscle car guys, right? Don't they have a muscle car class
I
now?
believe so.
And it's apparently one of the more popular classes
I
now.
bet.
Because guys were showing
Super
up in
fun.
hot rods, hot rodded Mustangs, hot rodded Camaros going, what do you mean I got to race in mod class? Well, you engine swapped your fucking car for one. You don't have the piece of shit inline six that came in that car.
Yeah.
You got a 500 horsepower LS. You can't race against the guys who are racing stock Mustangs and stock Camaros, from the 60s. So they made their own class for these guys too and said, okay. And so they're really good about, hey, if enough of you show up, we're just going to make a class for you and you get to run that class.
This is
That's cool.
My
Yeah,
I like
my
that.
dream. Yeah, that's pretty cool of them, by the way. Big ups SCCA. California Rally Series has not gotten there. It has like stock classes. It has modified classes, both front and rear wheel drive, and then it basically has open rear wheel drive and open all wheel drive. So it's like depending on what your drivetrain is, you're either stock, a little bit modified, or you're racing against the big boys.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
And when that started happening, they even introduced another new class, which I haven't been out there in years. I don't know if it still exists, but it was called SU, and it was Street Unlimited. And it basically was you can do anything you want to your car. We don't give two shits what you do to your car as long as you're running a DOT tire.
nice.
So run a DOT tire, do anything else you want. And then
So
so that
weird.
was like, so if you were like the crazy, like, hey, I'm going to be fucking crazy today, I'm going to run an SU today because I want to go see what kind of locos show up and want to run some super unlimited setup on street
Yeah.
tires.
I think
It
you
was
should
fun.
be able to. My dream class would be something like you can run whatever you want, tire, suspension, whatever. Like you show up, you put the weight of your vehicle and like a certified dyno test to the wheel of your motor,
Mm-hmm.
right? And whatever your power to weight is who you race against.
So like drag racing.
Is that how drag racing does it?
It's supposed to be very honest about, power and weight and how you.
Because that makes the most sense to me. I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
you
even
estimate
if
your
I'm
times.
if I'm driving a $2,000, 2,000 pound vehicle with 200 horsepower and you have a 4,000-pound vehicle with 400 horsepower, we should be able to match up and just whoever gets it, you know?
So there's another cool thing that I never partook in. It started getting real big when I left the SCCA, and that's these time attack races. So basically, it's a 1-against-1
Ooh.
drag race, but with a slalom course. So they've got the Christmas tree lights and everything,
I think I've seen
And-
these.
and they've got mirror image tracks.
Yeah, you go
next
in
to
and
each
out, in and
other.
out, then you do a huge UE at the back.
Yeah,
and
they
then
change them
and
every
then you
time,
come
but-
back or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, they change them every time, but it's basically 2 mirror image tracks, and you're drag racing the guy next to you, but as a slalom, not as a straight line.
Neat.
That's kind of rad. I think that I never got to do it. I thought it'd be fun to go do that.
Neither of you, nor James or Jake, has gone to an autocross event, correct?
No.
I
sounds
know.
right.
Have you?
Yes.
Did you race?
Super fun. Like the most fun. Not the most fun you'll ever have, but it is a damn good time. And
Martin.
I did a bunch with Julian. He has one of the Bauer Catfishes, the Miata, basically race car. And I would go with him and just go down there for the day and hang out, and I'd help him set up his car and change tires, take pyrometer of the tires, and just kind of like hang out because it was just fun.
Did he ever finish that project that was the 3 inline infrared thermometer guys that would read the tire?
I don't think so, but like I guess the idea behind it is cool. I don't know how well it would have worked, but
Cool if it was
Um,
like a removable thing, I guess, while you're tuning.
yeah, right. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just I measure my tires once or twice, get the pressure where I want it, and that
Yeah,
was it.
right.
I'm good for the day.
Got it.
So no, it was super fun. I raced my own personal car maybe 3 or 4 times, and that was super fun too. And I
Which
was
one?
this is when I had my E30. So
Got it.
I raced the E30 I think
Oh.
twice, and it was
Did you
definitely
race
a
the
lot of
M3?
fun. I did.
How
That one I
was
raced
that?
twice too. I looped it once, and I drove the living piss out of it.
Yeah?
Like it was just, I was gonna sell it, so it was like I'm gonna push it. So and the only thing that sucked about that car was that it was Tiptronic.
Yeah.
But dude, if
Yeah.
you set that thing to shift pressure like max, dude, it was like instantaneous shift.
Really?
Like
That's nice.
for using it for what it was great. And like
Neat.
as much as I love banging gears in a regular manual gearbox, like that was pretty sick. And I remember I had an instructor that came in there with me, and this is the first time I think this was probably the first 2 months that I had that car in general. And I have the instructor in there, first run of the day, and I'm like kind of cruising through the course, getting a feel for it, checking out where it goes. Next lap we go around, and he just goes, "All right, man, like I want you to really get after it this time." And dude, this guy was no joke. Like I'm going into these corners, he's like, more, come on, like just like really, really getting
That's
after it. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, here we go, And I'm like drifting this thing, just like, and he's just like, if you're not on the gas, you're on the brake. If you're not on the brake, you're on the gas. Like, let's go, come on, my grandma could drive better. Just like really, really ripping into it, and, dude. It was super fun, and like I think he was in there for another couple laps, and then I went out solo. But dude, after that, I was like, yeah, I should be doing what that guy's saying, like this guy's got the right mentality.
It's not up for a Sunday drive, bro. You want to
Yeah.
win or not?
Yeah, it was super funny, and I could care less where I placed. I was just out there to have a good time, and like, yeah, I don't think I even set tire pressure. I was like, yeah, 30 sounds about right for these tires. Cool, like let's set it at that, But out of both of those cars, so this was between a 1993 series and a 2002 M3, which is like 300 horsepower, super capable car, like bred for the Nürburgring, right? The E30 was way more fun. Absolutely more fun because it goes back to the Spitfire, right? It's way more raw. Thing had a good exhaust note. Like you just wanted to rip the living daylights out of it.
Yeah.
And that's where I got the E30 was just way more fun.
There's something about an old car and the smells and the noise and the way the whole thing vibrates and fucking shakes when you're going into a corner and you think the thing's gonna fall apart and
Oh,
it just-
absolutely.
just the whole, every noise and creak and everything it does, right? It's like racing a covered wagon around, right? It's like they're so just rickety, right?
That's my everyday drive
But-
to work.
The thing is that you just feel so much of it, and you're not used to feeling that much of it. But
Yeah.
it's the like, I don't know, long story short, used to skateboard. There's something we call board feel, and it has to do with your shoes. And you're like, I don't know, these shoes don't have a lot of board feel. That's why people really like Vans. like old schools is because they're like just the way they make their soles, they're really thin, blah blah blah. Like you can feel the board a lot, and some people don't like it because they don't feel as stable on it. They don't really want board feel. They want to be able to just like pretend like they know what the hell they're doing. But like basically wearing a freaking sock, you feel everything the board's doing. You know what's going on down there. So same thing with these old cars, like they have road feel, and they transmit everything to your steering wheel and to your seat, and so there's something to be said about like power steering versus manual and all this stuff, right? But it's the road feel. You get so much of it that you're just like, I know exactly where the limit is. Where now you get cars that are just so insulated and so protected from the road that there is no road feel, and that's why we have
super assist.
Heck, compilations of people crashing new Mustangs. It's because these dudes don't know where it is, and the assists are there, but they turned them off, and blah blah blah, and it's just
Because they wanted to peel out.
Because they wanted to be.
They did not perfect the peel
They
out.
they're single. They want girlfriends. Everybody knows you got to do a sick drift to get a girlfriend.
In your Mustang.
Yeah.
I was a much better driver in my Spitfire than I was in the newer Miata that I raced.
Absolutely.
I never got really good at racing the Miata, but I got really good at racing the Spitfire.
Because you didn't know where the edge was?
I didn't know where. Well, I knew where the edge was, but I couldn't feel the car. Like, see, I like driving by the seat of my pants, right? I got to feel it, like you're talking about board
Who
feel, right?
doesn't?
And the Miata just didn't have it. I didn't have, and granted, we were racing in a stock class, right? So it wasn't going to ever be, we weren't ever going to make it a race car enough to give me that feedback that I wanted.
Yeah.
Gut in the interior.
Yeah,
like,
right. You
full
can make a
cage.
brand new car have feedback. It's easy. You just strip them down and make them rigid, and now they got feedback.
Which is exactly what old cars are like. You just don't have to do that.
yeah, old cars are just like that all the
They're
time.
like,
yeah.
oh, the seat's already mounted to the bottom of the freaking pan.
Right.
There is no insulation.
Right.
Like,
My car was so
Done.
rusted out that the floorboards of my car are just fiberglass and resin poured in there so that it looks like there's a floorboard in there still.
That's cool.
dope.
Probably made it super strong.
Yeah,
Good
it worked.
super
No.
strong.
Good to know, David.
You know, it's funny
Yeah.
going back to the whole feedback and like really driving by the seat of your pants. I daily drove that 3 Series, the old 1991, for like 3 years before I autocrossed it. And I would always I would have fun in it. I dialed in the suspension pretty well and like had a bunch of cool stuff on it. And I never realized what the limit of that car was until I autocrossed it for the first time.
Yeah.
And then you really, really push it like the whole day, and you're like, oh, dude, like I'm driving down the road and I'm hitting corners that I was hitting, probably 10 miles an hour slower the time before that. And it's just like, oh yeah, no, we're good, we're good, we're good,
Dude's
we're
doing
good.
like 130 on the
Yeah.
freeway now.
I have a disease where, like, I must find the limit, which is why.
Immediately.
I mean, no, not immediately. It takes me a good 5 to 10 times to crash a car, but I have every car that I've bought for driving purposes. I have at least tapped a wall in.
James, I totaled the first 3 cars I ever owned.
That's what I'm saying, David.
So-
Woo!
Been there.
Me and David. And David's a freaking champion. See how many trophies he has? Oh, you haven't put your trophies up in your office.
No, I decided to retire them to the shed. And I
Oh.
was a local winner, never made a national champ. My wife, however,
wife
is the
did.
national champion.
Ah.
But I was never a national. Best I ever did at national level was 7th place.
All hail Shelly.
Shelly.
And that was the year my dad got 5th place. I got 7th place, and 9/11 happened while we were in Kansas. So
What an excuse.
I don't even like to celebrate it.
Rough.
Well, no, we only got to race
Why
one
would you
day.
celebrate losing to your dad by 2?
Because man, I
Spots.
gotta win, dude. Fucking win's a win. You ain't first, you're last.
How many people raced?
Well, I was high when I
I
said
don't know, there's
that.
I think there was that year there was probably 15 or 20 people in our class.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
But I mean,
like
those are
that.
the 15, 20 people from all over the United States that were the number 1 people in their states, who then we all meet. At the time was
Nice.
Kansas.
The best of the best.
That's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be like, right?
Nice.
But,
And was it? I mean, was that like bad
Oh,
to
yeah.
the bone dudes? Everybody's
yeah.
like super hardcore.
yeah, so you've got in every when we were racing in the class we were racing in, nobody was coming within a
mean,
few seconds of us, right? So we
yeah.
had dominated locally, which gets boring, right? So then you look forward to the tour stops and you look forward to the Kansas because now you get to go up against all the other guys who in their regions are dominating. Now you get to see how you really rank, right?
God, I bet they didn't know what to make of Spitfire showing up.
Yeah, most of them were like, "What the fuck?" You know. I mean, we were going up against Honda Civics, Scirocco's.
Civic's a fast car if you do it right.
Back in the day, those were when I was racing. Those were the hot ticket, and you know, it really sucked losing to front wheel drive.
Am I wrong in
cars.
saying there's something about a stigma about Scirocco's being girls' cars?
I
Well,
love
think you're right.
Scirocco's.
I think you're right.
I'm not
think-
gonna lie.
I've seen a couple that I'm kind of down
It's like
with.
a white Volkswagen Rabbit Cabriolet.
I know. It's
White on
something
white on
weird.
white package, like white interior, white top, white wheels,
And the girl who
everything.
drives it's like, I bought a Scirocco.
Her name is Jennifer.
Yes.
Or
Oh my
Lori.
God.
My mom had one just like
Yeah.
that. White rabbit, white. She like still to this day will see one driving. She goes, "Oh my God, I used to have one that it was a white on white package, white top, white interior, white wheels, white paint." Like
That
cool,
was the
mom. You
one.
were cool in high
That
school.
was
I
the
get
one.
it.
Yeah, I would like to get back down there and do that stuff. That was super fun.
Well, it could potentially be right in our backyard, right? Is that still a thing? Or
Who knows?
Yeah.
It would be nice, but if I
Yeah.
got to drive down there still, it's fine.
Well, on my long list of things to do at this point, getting the Defender done. Right after I'm done with the Defender, I'm moving on to the Catfish, I think.
Yep.
And once that's gone, then there's room for the
As
Spitfire.
soon as the Catfish is gone, the Spitfire comes here.
That's right. That is right.
So there's your guys' motivation. Get
That's
that car
fantastic.
I'm in.
We're wrapping up the Jeep Willys that I was doing the cage on. Got to send it over to Kurt, and then
Yep.
that'll be out of here. So we'll get another thing in the door and see what
done. STSV will be gone Monday, hopefully.
happens.
That'd be
Yeah.
nice.
And then, yeah, no,
We gotta pull the motor tomorrow.
yeah, tomorrow we got to pull the motor out of the Camaro.
That's gonna be great. It's been a good time.
Be good.
No scratches.
No scratches.
Nothing. We're gonna
Uh,
coat the whole inside of it with that white transport film.
Yeah.
Like every square
Like
inch.
10
of it is
coats of
getting
it.
covered.
Hit us up on Instagram, Bent Motorsports, at Bent Motorsports, and DM us if you guys want us to talk about something specific on the podcast. We always try to come up with good things to talk about, but lo and behold, it gets pretty hard because when you say let's talk about cars, God,
What do we talk about?
Yeah,
so much.
you guys got to send us messages and let us know if you want more technical talk. If you just want the banter, that's fine. But if you guys send us something that's technical, we have fucking opinions for sure. So definitely don't
We'll
be
tell
afraid.
you that we're right too.
yeah,
Okay. Hey, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong.
yeah.
That's right.
that's
Just so you
true.
know.
So, also look out where I think Monday, just about, is going to be the John Bull Canon Explorer. Canon, what is it, 1998?
7.
Canon 1997 Explorer. Make it up John Bull with a DIY mid-travel kit installed in under 4 hours by you and your stupid ass friends. We'll find out in the video. Did that sound like
That was cool.
Yeah,
promo-y
that,
enough?
that
Yeah,
looked
it
like
was
you were
pretty
on like some super good car TV show.
good?
Or meth.
I
Or
didn't
meth.
answer the question to leave it hanging so that people will have to check. Now,
Yeah,
Well
they're
done.
their
curious.
conflict
Look at
resolution is like, oh, I have to know now.
I wonder why more people don't do that. You know,
I know,
Like,
man. I'm a
Weird.
storyteller. What
the
can I
answer
tell you?
to the answer to so many questions.
All right. Well, this has been a Bent Motorsports micro podcast. We're going
Yes.
to name it because I'm done. I'm bored.
What?
Are you?
How long is this?
It's like 40 minutes, but I'm going to have to cut
that's
like
normal.
fucking 15
You're-
minutes out of
oh,
just
okay.
You
stupid
raced
shit.
for how many years, and you're getting bored of
Talking
a
about racing?
10-minute racing?
I
talk?
love when David talks about racing.
This has been the Bent Motorsports Podcast. Thanks for listening in. Be sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Bent Motorsports. Stay updated on the latest happenings, future projects, videos, events here at the shop. Remember, guys, at Bent Motorsports, bids in stock, we've got it.